Welcome to the final instalment of our Fall USA road trip vlog. Our final vlog is going to be slightly different to the others. This part of the trip was very different from the rest. For the first 2 weeks of our trip, we'd been hammering the pace, fitting in as much as we could, but as we hopped on our American Airlines flight down to North Carolina, things were going to be a lot more chilled. It was a short 2-hour flight from Chicago O'Hare Airport down to Charlotte in North Carolina. The skies were clear and the flight was nice and smooth. The American Airlines flight was basic but very decent, and we had a great in-flight entertainment system on offer. Landing in Charlotte, North Carolina, we quickly disembarked and went to pick up our hire car. We like to get something different on most road trips, and for this leg of the journey we had a Tesla. Having never owned or used an electric vehicle before, we thought it would be interesting to see what it was like to use an electric vehicle while on a vacation. We got the basic Model 3 Tesla, but that was enough to get us a good idea of what it was like to use an EV. We had a good 200 miles from Charlotte down to Wilmington, North Carolina, where we would be spending the week. And while this was within the range of the Tesla, we did actually have to stop halfway to charge up. The route took us through some beautiful countryside, through North Carolina's rolling forests and farmland, through cotton fields and quaint little villages. Overall, a really pleasant 200 miles. We had left behind Chicago's freezing temperatures, and the needle was now moving up well into the 70s and the 80s. As we approached the town of Lumberton, the Tesla decided we needed to charge. This was really no issue at all. We headed to Starbucks, and in the time it took to get a coffee, the car was back up fully charged, and we were back on the road again, heading towards Wilmington. It took us around 4 hours to do the total journey, and as we were getting into Wilmington, the sun was starting to set. The night was absolutely glorious. Crossing the bridge into Old Town Wilmington, we headed towards the Riverwalk, where we had booked a nice apartment for the week. The Water Street Retreat apartment block contains several self-contained apartments. We wanted a self-contained apartment so we could do some cooking of our own. This was a 1-bedroom apartment with large double bed, a fully equipped kitchen and a nice living area. It also had a stunning balcony overlooking the river with stunning views of the USS North Carolina battleship that is docked just across the river. These apartments have the perfect location, and this would be a fantastic base for our stay for the week. It had been a long day and we were pretty tired, but we still needed to get some food, so we headed out into the town, grabbing a giant pretzel and some amazing hot wings at the Rebellion Bar just on Front Street, a short walk from our apartment. We first visited Wilmington last year in July, and while we really loved the place, we found our experience to be less than ideal. It was in the middle of summer and the humidity was oppressive. We were also a bit pushed for time and found ourselves charging around the place trying to pack everything in. The plan for this trip was to just relax a bit, take our time and see exactly what we wanted to see. Wilmington is well known as a filming location. It has been the home of both Dawson's Creek and One Tree Hill, both some of Kate's favourite TV shows as she was growing up. It's also been the filming location to several blockbuster films, including Iron Man 3. The plan for today was to just relax and head out and see some of the famous sights and attractions from the movies and TV shows. We visited the Harry Fordham Bridge, along with Lake Otten, both filming locations from One Tree Hill. If you want to know how to find all these filming locations for yourself, check out the links in the description below for all our articles on Wilmington's best filming locations. After this, we headed to Southport to get some lunch. We had a great lunch at the Fishy Cafe down by the river, before heading to Potter's Seafood to pick up some local delicacies. We had some amazing triggerfish fillets along with a pound of locally caught shrimp, which we will be cooking up for our dinner tonight. We took a nice walk around Southport, heading down to the riverfront and also checking out an amazing Christmas shop that is there all year round. And that is actually all we really did for the day. We headed to Lowe's supermarket to pick up some more essentials and then just headed back to the apartment, relaxed watching the beautiful sunset and cooked up an amazing dinner of local seafood. This is quite the contrast to the crazy days we had been having, charging all over the country. Me and Kate had spent the last 2 weeks in close proximity travelling together with barely a moment apart. So today was a nice opportunity to get away and spend some time away from each other on our own. Kate had some celebrity stalking to do later on, so I took the opportunity to head out and do a little bit of fishing. I jumped in the Tesla and headed over to Wrightsville Beach and the Johnny Mercer fishing pier. Here you can hire some fishing tackle for $8 a day, which includes entry to the pier and a fishing licence, so you don't have to mess around getting a separate licence. It was quite wild and stormy out on the pier, and the fishing was pretty difficult. Getting a bite was not a problem, but getting through these small pinfish was really tricky. I caught well over 20 of the little fish, but getting through to anything a bit more significant was a real challenge. However, with some very long casting, eventually I managed to get through to pick up a couple of small bluefish, which were a bit more exciting. Overall, it was a really nice and relaxing day down by the water. Kate started the day exploring Wilmington and checking out even more filming locations. As a huge fan of both One Tree Hill and Dawson's Creek, Wilmington is a real dream location to visit as the town is littered with icons from both the TV shows. Again, check out the link in the description for more info on those. During our stay, there was a series of events being held in the town, and Kate was heading over to one of these today. This was a book reading and meet and greet of one of Kate's favourite stars of One Tree Hill, Hilary Burton. We had already done a little Hilary stalking earlier in the trip as we visited her current hometown of Rhinebeck, New York, so Kate was really excited to meet her today, along with meeting a host of other One Tree Hill fans and visiting the famous Trick nightclub used extensively in the show. After both enjoying our days, we met back up at the apartment and enjoyed another stunning sunset from the balcony. It was Saturday night, so we headed out to see what the town was like on the weekend. For dinner, we ate at a New Orleans themed bar and had some amazing sticky smoked ribs, Creole chicken gumbo, and of course beignets for dessert. We then just grabbed a few drinks out in the town and enjoyed a fairly busy Saturday night. So Sunday was another chilled day, and after a late start we headed out and exploring the town and seeing a few more filming locations. We then headed down to the Riverwalk to grab a lovely Sunday brunch at George's on the Riverwalk. Following this, we jumped back in the Tesla and headed over to Wrightsville Beach to spend the day just chilling, taking in the last of the winter sun. This was unseasonably warm weather for this late in November, and the locals all headed out to take in what might be their last good weekend for quite a while as winter began to set in. We had a great time just relaxing on the beach, enjoying the waves and watching the locals surf. Back at the apartment, we cooked up an amazing surf and turf dinner, along with macaroni salad and a nice avocado green salad. Then we headed out for the one main attraction that we had planned for the week, a Wilmington ghost tour. We have done quite a few ghost tours recently and really enjoyed them, so we were looking forward to heading out to Wilmington to see if we could see any ghosts. The tour was very interesting, but unfortunately the spirits seemed to stay away on our day, and we didn't get any conclusive evidence or feelings of any spookiness whatsoever, apart from the odd Halloween decoration. We still really enjoyed the tour and got an amazing history lesson from our tour guide, who really showed us the best of the other side of Wilmington. The only possible sighting we had was this creepy apparition that appeared in the top of one of the windows of a house where several children had mysteriously died. Let us know what you think. Time can really fly when you're doing nothing, and this was our last full day in Wilmington as we will be heading back to New York tomorrow. Today we really had nothing at all planned, so had a really easy morning before heading out to see what we could find. We headed to the Green Swamp Preserve to see if we could hunt out some Venus flytraps. We have never seen these in the wild despite being one of our favourite plants, and have loved Venus flytraps since childhood. So it was great to head out to the preserve, take in some of North Carolina's nature, and hunt out these amazing carnivorous plants. The Green Swamp is filled with carnivorous plants. We found Venus flytraps, sundew plants, and of course the amazing pitcher plants. We were hoping to find some alligators in the swamp, but unfortunately they didn't come out to play today, but we did get to see the flytraps. Back in Wilmington in the afternoon, we decided to head across the water to visit the USS North Carolina. With the battleship stationed just across from our apartment, it had kind of been ever present on our trip, so we thought it only right to head over and actually check it out. We jumped on the river taxi, which was a short boat ride across the river, rather than taking the long drive around over the bridge. The weather was absolutely gorgeous, and we just wandered around the boardwalk, taking in the amazing historical vessel. Again, we were hoping for alligators, but there was nothing in the waters that we could see. Back at the apartment, we had one of the most incredible sunsets that we'd had all week, and we'd already had some corkers. We spent some time taking some photos and just enjoying the amazing North Carolina setting. A little bit sad that we had to leave tomorrow. I'd had an amazing time, just enjoying the beautiful scenery, the amazing town of Wilmington, and just soaking up the last of the warm winter sun. We have a long winter ahead of us in the UK, so really enjoyed the last of this beautiful warm weather. And just look at those sunsets. For dinner we headed out to the infamous Hell's Kitchen restaurant, where we grabbed some nachos, a chicken Caesar wrap and an amazing burger as our final meal in Wilmington. we rose bright and early to catch our flight back into New York. We had to drive back up to Charlotte and drop off the Tesla, so despite our flight being around midday, we still had to get a move on. Our Tesla decided we needed 2 stops on the way, one around halfway and one right by the airport to make sure we could hand the car back 100% charged. We were really happy to find out that American Express have a Centurion lounge at the Charlotte airport, so we could take advantage of that due to being platinum credit card holders. We love Centurion lounges and have visited quite a few now, and Charlotte is actually one of the best. It had some lovely views out over the apron, which a lot of Centurion lounges don't seem to have, and the whole place was light and airy and quite spacious. There were also some great little privacy pods where people could go and make phone calls, so they didn't sit there shouting down their cell phones, which was an excellent touch. We were there for lunchtime and the food options were pretty good, with some nice smoked brisket, some Cajun rice and some tasty veggies. Overall, a pretty decent meal for a lounge. The bar was also excellent, and despite being quite early, we still indulged in quite a few pre-flight drinks. After all, we didn't want to pay the extortionate prices of in-flight drinks. The short 2-hour flight into LaGuardia Airport was on time and pretty eventless. The skies were clear, there was very little turbulence, and we just relaxed, looking out the window, enjoying the views as we flew up the east coast. Coming into LaGuardia, we got some stunning views of New York off in the distance. It really is a sight to behold as you come into LaGuardia. Landing in LaGuardia, we got through the airport quite quickly and then jumped into an Uber to head to our hotel. The traffic was pretty terrible, so the Uber driver took us on a fairly unique route to the hotel, heading through some of the less attractive areas of New York. As we passed through Harlem, we really got to see some of the lesser advertised parts of the city. Arriving at our hotel, we were in for a major disappointment. We had chosen Ink48 as a last little treat for us in New York. This is a highly rated hotel and has some absolutely stunning views and some of the best rooms in the city. However, when we got to our city view room, we found the view to be absolutely appalling. We really had been stiffed on this one. Situated on the 2nd floor and basically overlooking a street and the Cadillac garage and some garbage bags. While the room was pretty excellent, we had paid for a city view and we expected one. The hotel was unwilling to provide us what we had paid for, and this room was not cheap. Fortunately, when we contacted our booking agent at booking.com, they were pretty sympathetic about the situation and gave us a nice little refund. Still, it was disappointing to spend our last hours in New York with such a disappointing hotel room. In the evening, we headed up to the press lounge, which is unfortunately now closed, to really see what we were missing out on. These views you can see here are what is typical from the city view rooms of Ink48, and clearly shows why we were so let down with the room we had. For this reason, we really can't recommend Ink48 for any reason whatsoever. After the press lounge, we headed out into Hell's Kitchen to try out some of the infamous food options. We ended up in a Michelin-starred noodle joint and had some amazing noodles and some excellent dim sum at this cute and cosy little Chinese cafe called Kung Fu Little Steamed Buns. On our final day in New York, we didn't really have much time, so after an easy morning, we just got up and went for a stroll around this part of the city. Being in Hell's Kitchen, we wanted to check out the food again, so we looked for a cute little independent coffee shop and had some amazing bagels, really living like New York locals. We then walked into Times Square to live the exact opposite of New York locals, and then wandered back down to the river to just check out the Intrepid. We didn't have time to board her, so just admired the vessel from the dock. After that, our time was pretty much up, so we jumped in a cab and headed towards JFK to catch our flight home. Fortunately, we had one big treat left in store for us, as our return flight was in upper class. Check-in was super quick as we had our own upper class check-in desk, and then we raced through security as we had access to the priority lane. JFK is one of the few airports where Virgin operates its own clubhouse lounge, and these are always our favourite lounges to visit. They're super stylish, fun, and take on the vibes of the city that they are located in. The JFK lounge was really excellent, although we did find the service a little bit lacking, but this is definitely first world problems. We had a good few hours to check out the lounge and take in some of the on-tap amenities, including several refreshing drinks, before we headed to the plane to board. For a more comprehensive review of the upper class lounge and the upper class flight we just took, check out the links in the description for all of our reviews of clubhouse lounges and Virgin upper class flight products. This was our first flight on Virgin's brand new A330neo plane, and the upper class cabin on this aircraft is quite the change from Virgin's other upper class cabins. You get your own private pod rather than Virgin's other semi-private seats, and the whole cabin is really modern and swanky. The three-course meal was excellent, served shortly after entering the cruise, consisting of smoked duck, lobster risotto and hazelnut chocolate torte, all washed down with a few drinks. We then checked out the social spaces before converting our beds to lie flat, donning the upper class PJs and grabbing some rest. A fitting end to an amazing trip.